guys? Welcome to the SDC podcast. My name is Andrew, aka Drew, aka Andy, aka whatever you want to call me.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we've got over here to my left, Jose.
Jose, what's up, guys?
And to my further left,
Rafael.
we got
Hola.
Raph. Yeah, so we just saw, me for the second time, Raph maybe for the second time, Jose for the first, the new Zelda trailer.
No, definitely my first time.
First time for Raph.
Okay.
Yep. We both
Yeah,
popped
all
our
right.
cherry on that.
All right.
Yeah.
So first time for them, and I mean, I saw it earlier today. I was shocked when I saw somebody posted on Facebook. I was waiting for it yesterday, but apparently their
The conference
lineup
was
wasn't
today.
coming out till today. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the moment I saw it, I had to click it, and we're here to talk about our opinions.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit into the details of the Legend of Zelda. What's that game called? What's the official title for it now?
Breath of the Wind or something? Breath of the Wind?
Let's see what that is
Let's
here.
look it up over here.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very similar to the first trailer that we saw from the game. I think maybe from 2 years ago.
Breath of the Wild. Legends of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. As far as the art style, it's very similar to what we saw before. It's got that cel shaded, slightly realistic look. In this new trailer, they actually made it a lot more realistic than it was in the last trailer. Before it was more.
Well, the environments look way more realistic,
Yeah.
but like the characters themselves are very, from what I saw, they look more toony than the environment.
Yeah, it reminded me of Ico, which is what I was saying to Raph when we were
Yeah.
looking at it. It just looks a lot like Ico and that style. You know, Shadow of the Colossus, all those games that kind of like you said, cel shaded, which is a cool look.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like you're not a fan of that cell shaded look. I don't know.
I mean,
I like cel shading, but
I
give me
like-
like toony cel shading.
I like
prefer
cel
that.
shaded. I mean, I actually really enjoy it. I love the Wind Waker. I thought that was the highlight of the game. Besides the awesome gameplay and the amazing dungeons and the story, the art style was really what stood out and made the game, truly what it was and what it still is today. And I think that the same thing could be for this new one as well. But I feel like the animations are just like all over the place, at least in the trailer. You know, things can improve when the game comes out, but I feel like the animation still looks stiff. It's got that what was the last game called? Skyward Sword feel, where you start to move Link, and he kind of he gives like this really hard start before he starts to run. It's like a stutter. Then he starts to run. They kind of add weight to him that's unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Just make him start running, and when he runs, he has like this kind of like this weighty feel to him. It's just not natural. I want something more like Shadow of Mordor. I want a smooth experience like that, something like Assassin's Creed. Maybe go for the realistic physics, but make it easy for me to play the game and not to feel like I'm controlling a stiff robot at the same time.
Oh yeah, and also it's not like he's wearing armor, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
So like he should still be lightweight.
I was going to say this game reminded me a lot in the stiffness and even a little bit of the gameplay with the arrow play and all of that, and some of the way that you navigate the world. It reminded me of a Skyrim. I never really got into those games because of how stiff I always thought it was. I know there's this great deep RPG world in those games. And I like that, but that's what turned me off to those games that are supposed to be that great. And it looks like to me Zelda kind of plays like that too. That stiff, sort of like not agile, cool sword play.
Yeah.
You know, kind of just standing there shooting arrows instead of being able to move around and like.
Just hopping from left to right. Like I understand
Yeah.
that's the original game mechanics from it, but like are they with this trying to move over to what most other games are like now?
But they're not. I want them to.
Yeah.
Like they're not. Like with the environments, it looks like it. With the game, it looks massive. It looks modern in that aspect. But once I start to see a deer run, or I start to see Link, run himself, or even a horse start to gallop, it does not look natural at all. It looks like a freaking game from the GameCube era. And it's animation from GameCube with graphics of today.
Yeah.
It's really just not.
I don't even know if it's fully graphics of today either.
No, I don't think so. The graphics looked a little subpar to me, to be honest with you.
And the
The
only
cell
video
shaded look
I
was
found
pretty
on-
good, but like you could push so much more. Some of the other stuff that we'll talk about maybe in brief that we saw from E3 looks a heck of a lot better than
It looks like a Dragon Ball Z
Legend of
game.
Zelda Breath of the
like
Wild.
the same style. It looks like the same
You're
style as
right.
Dragon Ball.
Not
You're
impressive
right.
at all.
I know. I understand where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
It's not impressive, but it's good enough to get by. Like it's colorful and stuff.
Yeah, it's stylistic. You look at
why
it and it's
like-
pleasant, but it's not like pushing the system at all. It's not like what you paid to get a PlayStation 4 to get the power, or not a PlayStation 4, excuse me, but like even with the Nintendo, like it could push out better graphics than this.
Absolutely,
It has.
I totally agree.
You know what I mean? And
Rogue
what?
Squadron, I swear, still holds up from the GameCube.
Yeah,
man.
it definitely does. Why
beautiful
can't they
game.
just look at other developers or just hire somebody like they used to? They used to hire Capcom. They hired Capcom to make 2 Zelda games, one Zelda game, excuse me, the Minish Cap, on the game on the Game Boy, and it turned out to be amazing. Why can't they hire people to take control of the franchise,
License out their franchise?
Yeah, dude. Bro, get
Like movies now?
Get Rocksteady to make a Zelda game. Are
That'd be
you kidding me,
interesting.
dude?
That'd be interesting to get like different companies making
Yeah.
different properties. That actually would be a great
In
idea.
their styles too.
And their stuff. Actually, you know what? Put them in charge of Metroid, because they make the Arkham games, right?
Yeah.
Put them in charge of Metroid. Who would you put in charge of Zelda, a 3D Zelda?
3D Zelda.
Which third-party developer?
Well, I've always liked the BioWare games, but that's probably not like something that you would be.
I don't know if they will
fan
be into
of.
that. They will probably make a Fire Emblem game.
Bethesda.
Bethesda.
They do Elder Scrolls stuff like.
See, but that's the problem though that I have with it. It's
I
still
don't
going to
know.
be that stiff game. You know, this is why I don't like Elder Scrolls.
Okay, I see
When you're talking
Mordor.
about like, okay, so this has a lot of sword fighting, right?
Yeah.
I hated the sword fighting in Elder Scrolls. I hated using the bow and arrow. The weapons were so difficult to use.
I've never gotten into
Doing it in first person or third person. If they make a game that has great first person hand to hand combat, the game's going to be revolutionary, and they should be able, or they should maybe aim for that with this game, because you've never seen that. Have you ever seen a game where the first person combat is just revolutionary? You know what I mean? Where you can just
Hold
can
on.
do almost something.
Mirror's Edge.
Something, but the
Well,
combat.
I've never.
No,
really
it's still a little
played
stiff.
it.
Like
It's still like
block,
horizontal,
time,
vertical.
You know, yeah.
Diagonal,
it's-
diagonal.
I
It's
think
not
they're also weird,
revolutionary.
Because
It's
imagine,
good.
imagine doing.
But, like,
being
think-
in first person and being a part of a roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
That's gotta hurt, man. Visually.
You know
Like,
what I
it's
mean?
gotta
And
be
because of the
like
way that they
motion
move, like you
sick.
said, that weird stop-start, you can't get like a smooth, like let's say you want to do some smooth
know why
sword
that-
fighting where you hop in and stab at the guy and hop out, like some real cool sword
Yeah,
fighting
yeah.
shit. That's what it's really like, you know. You got to like move in and out. You can't do that because you're like, you walk in slow, like, and like
know
move
what
back
you mean.
slow.
I know what you mean.
You know, there's no dodge to
No
it. There's no
interaction.
agility to it. And I feel like if Bethesda does a Zelda game, they'll bring that same clunkiness to it, and it will be
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
You need somebody who can do that. Maybe the company that did Mirror's Edge. Maybe that's one of the closest experiences.
It's hard because
But it's really hard to do.
now. Actually, I
What
feel.
about Shadow of Mordor? Who made that?
Well, you could keep it as a third person game.
Who's the WB developer?
They can still do it.
Look it up. Shadow of Mordor.
Wait, you're
developer.
talking about making
Well, it's
Zelda
EA
a first person
and,
game?
Shadow of Mordor.
Or you're just talking about making Zelda?
Well, I'm just saying that Bethesda they made those first person and also sort of clunky third
I
person
see.
experiences. You know, because you can play Skyrim. You know, I didn't mention it, but most all players know you can play Skyrim in first person or in third person, and it sucks either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, another game that has that same clunkiness, but they improved upon it. Fallout. Fallout 4 is so much better than past Fallouts. It's still not great.
Yeah.
There's no hand-to-hand combat component that's awesome, but it's a much better combat component than Fallout 3 was. Fallout 3 was kind of shitty. It was just a good game in a whole lot of other ways, and that's why I enjoyed it. But like, you don't want. I mean, I can. You're a huge Zelda fan.
Yeah, I love
Andrew,
Zelda.
and I know you love Zelda
Changed
too.
my life.
I enjoy
But
it.
like,
It was one of my first video games ever.
yeah, you don't want a clunky ass like
No.
Skyrim experience for Zelda. You need somebody
no.
who can make it. Maybe like the company that made
Shadow of Mordor.
Shadow of
I mean,
Mordor.
that was like, or whoever's making that new game on PS4, whatever game that is, with the girl with the orange hair.
The girl with the orange hair on
It's,
PS4.
I forgot the name of it. It's one of the newer games that we saw yesterday.
Ah,
in
so
the
they
trailer.
made. I'm sorry,
trailers. Go
Bethesda did Dishonored. That game looks amazing.
Yeah,
But did you
but
play
first
it?
person Zelda
Nah,
is
I
not
haven't
going to
played
work.
it. I
That's
gotta
the
get
thing.
it to play it.
See, that's the
First
thing.
person Zelda is going to change the game.
Even if you didn't do it that way, you need somebody who can make it a great third person. Monolith.
Okay, Monolith. I would probably put in charge of a Zelda game.
Who do they make?
with
Monolith Productions.
With
Monolith
Nintendo-
Productions, Nintendo.
combining, like teamwork.
Yeah, because
Not
have
just
Nintendo
Mono.
has to do the story, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to have the creators involved in what.
And they have to design the puzzles because
Gonna
that's
have
what Nintendo's really good at, designing clever puzzles and gameplay mechanics that nobody would ever think of.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor doesn't really have that, other than the system where you have to take out the different clans and leaders, the heads of the.
That
of
was
the
amazing.
orcs.
Why can't we have
That was
that?
interesting.
Ganon's minions.
Actually, that would be great.
where
Actually,
it's like different levels of his minions. Like, what the hell?
see, give us a call, Nintendo.
Yeah, come
Nintendo,
on.
Monolith Productions. We have ideas for you. We can turn the next Zelda game
Free idea.
into a super awesome Link, Zelda, Shadow of Mordor experience that'll get 10s in every publication. I mean, but yeah, that actually would be a good idea if you get developers to do that. You do that Sonic games or
Yeah, get to outsource Sonic,
Whatever.
bro.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Just not to India. Somewhere else where they know how to make games. Well,
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
we
No
have our
offense to
history.
India.
We have history talking about customer service in India, and outsourcing to India.
Yeah.
But that would be interesting. But what else did you guys find that stood out
At E3?
at E3? Because Zelda, underwhelming, sort of underwhelming.
Underwhelming. My number one game at E3 would have to be from Sony's conference. It's gonna have to be Crash Bandicoot Remastered,
Oh,
1,
yeah.
2, and Warp.
Yeah,
I can't wait for this remaster. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. Dude, when this guy walked out, and the
you
Crash
saw
music
the
started,
shadow?
I freaked out even before the shadow started.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The dum, 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 dum. The moment I heard that music, dude, I was hyped up. I can't wait for that game to come out. Warped is my favorite one. 2 and Warped. 2, I feel like they perfected Crash. I didn't think it could get any better than the first one. And then after that, I didn't think it could get better than the second one. And Warped was just fantastic. But all 3 remastered in one game, I'll take it, man. Any day, any night, any year, any century, any decade.
Some good old Crash Bandicoot to take you back.
Yeah.
What about anything new, or any new properties or anything else? Any sequels?
I'm
you guys
excited
saw
about this
that
new
was interesting?
Kojima game, man.
It's
It's so just
Looks okay.
what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Raph on this one because I've always been a huge fan of Kojima's weird style of storytelling.
man.
Metal Gear Solid as a game wasn't the greatest experience if you really think
love
back
that
to it. It's a clever experience, but the gameplay mechanics kind of suck. How many
was
times did you
Resident Evil.
slip and end up coming off the wall? Because you hit the controller at the slightly wrong angle and you end up dying in that game because the controls were so wonky. But the way that the game trips you out, mind fucks you. Remember we talked about this I think on one of the
Metal
podcasts,
Gear Solid
Psycho
2.
Mantis,
Psycho Mantis.
making you unplug one controller and plug in the other one, those kind of weird fuck with your mind kind of gameplay experiences that Kojima is so good at is why this game looks interesting to me. Plus it's freaking Daryl, Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead and from Boondock Saints fame, a great actor, very popular. And the way that they recaptured him, the way that they digitally recaptured him in
so
that game is pretty incredible.
I'll be honest. When
apparently
I first
he's
saw
pregnant
him
with
show
babies.
Up, I was like, "Oh my god, they brought Silent Hills back. This is great."
Which they were supposed to do with him, weren't they?
Supposed to do with him, yeah.
That's probably why Kojima decided to pick him
He
up.
snatched him up quick.
He's like, I'll make a creepy game with this guy because that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. There were a couple other games that looked pretty good too. That game by the developers of The Last of Us looked really interesting to me, of course. But that does look like it's kind of going
Days
to be
Gone?
the same
That's not
experience.
from Last of Us.
No,
guys.
who?
That's from Sony Bend.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It looks very much like The Last of Us.
It looks like Last of Us, but it's not.
It looks like the gameplay is almost
That's not-
identical.
That's not.
to be perfectly honest to
it's
me.
not. Who made Last of Us? Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog.
That's not Naughty Dog.
it's not Naughty Dog.
That's actually
Sony
news
Bend.
to me because that game looks very much
Looks just
like
like
the
it,
same
bro.
game. So
Crash Bandicoot.
it looks good, but that game is kind of in that way also not super interesting to me because it's kind of the same thing as The Last of Us.
Yeah.
If that's the case, especially if it's not being made by the same
Yeah,
developer.
I guess so for the most
I
part.
wouldn't mind.
It's
I
just
enjoyed
that,
it.
yeah.
If they bring
It's just
enough
another
new stuff to the table.
post-apocalyptic game. Xbox is releasing one too. I forgot the name of it.
Gears of War 4.
No, no. They're releasing literally another zombie giant open world game.
I didn't pay attention to the Xbox One. mostly because I don't have an Xbox.
Well, now that I
I
have
have
a
one and I
fucking
didn't pay
kick-ass
attention either.
PC, and they're making it so that every Xbox game can now be played on a PC, what the fuck do I need a goddamn Xbox One?
Wasn't that
for?
last year's thing?
They
Well, now it's going to be
it's
officially
different.
into the
now they
architecture.
officially finally announced the streaming capabilities for the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it can stream to Xbox 10 everywhere. Like, what's
Windows
Windows
10?
10, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it either. But the Microsoft one probably is going to be all about, I guess, the hardware. If anything, there'll probably be some good games there.
They showed off the Xbox One S, and then they announced the Xbox Scorpio. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, the really high-end one.
High-end machine.
It's
That
going
will
to be
be out
coming
next
out.
year.
That we talked about with all the extra teraflops and whatnot.
It was very interesting that Sony didn't announce the system, as far as I'm aware, right? They didn't say
It would be a bad
shit.
idea if they did.
Yeah. And I
Well,
love
I mean,
how
they're
they
doing
did their
fine.
conference where it was pretty much video after video, and then whenever someone came out, it was short. There was no announcer, not really. Like, it was just a dude that came out every now and then. It was music, it was trailers.
Sony's probably confident about their lead right now. That's why they didn't
Yeah,
say
like-
anything
Yeah, it
about
shows
hardware.
a lot of confidence by not releasing another system.
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't need to. Even with the upgrade on the Xbox One, although it
I
is
agree.
impressive, the PlayStation 4 is still so powerful. The 4K PlayStation 4 is going to be so powerful anyway. You're not going to need much more than that, most likely. At least not for a couple more years. The way that their experience is going now with these new systems that they're releasing, they'll wait until next year,
PS4 can
E3,
already support VR.
to release
so-
something new.
That's true. With the separate box, but yeah, it's true.
What do you mean with the separate box?
The virtual reality headset comes with a separate box that connects to the PS4.
Oh,
Yeah.
To give it a little bit extra power.
A little extra boost.
Yeah. That was like something like with the
that's
Kinect
cool.
had a processor, made it a little bit more powerful. But the only other game that looked somewhat interesting that you also said was pretty cool, Raph, was the that sort of branching paths, the choose your own adventure game that Sony's releasing. What was that one called?
Detroit.
Detroit?
Being human.
Being Human.
Yeah.
That looks really interesting.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I think it's from the same creators of like Heavy Rain. What was that other game? Until Dawn. Yeah, Until Dawn. Same guys.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That makes
but
sense.
it looks like they've added way more. It looks like they've added way more like choices and way more decisions that could be made. It's crazy.
Right. It looks
From
like
that
they've taken-
trailer, the trailer they showed, it just kept showing different ways the scenario could go down. Maybe like if you shoot him in the head, he's gonna bring the girl with him, or maybe she's gonna get away from him. He could shoot you in the head. It's crazy.
Yeah, the scenario
if you say
has
the
them
wrong thing
on the edge of a building,
Yeah.
right, with a guy holding a gun to a little girl's head, and the premise is that you're a cop or an investigator of some
a
sort,
negotiator.
a hostage
Yeah,
negotiator,
you're a robotic.
but you're not human. You're
yeah.
like an android hostage negotiator, and because Heavy Rain, all those games were very similar in their mechanic, but it looks like they've taken their engine for decision making and their gameplay to a whole new level, which is what makes this game look kind of interesting. Detroit, Being Human, that one looks
that's interesting.
pretty interesting, I think, too. Did you see that one? Did you get a chance to take a look
I
at it?
saw it, but I don't remember it. I got a slight glimpse of it. I was more impressed by. I mean, I probably saw it, but like just only a few games stuck into my mind. The ones I mentioned and Days Gone really just. I can't wait for that game.
Yeah, there were a couple of really, really interesting things, and well, in closing, Zelda looked kind of underwhelming. We can all agree on that, right, guys?
Yeah, really disappointing. I wish Nintendo
Very
would just go
disappointing.
back to just being Nintendo, man. Like I don't know what's gonna happen with them, bro.
Nintendo, you know what's going to happen with them? They're going to give us a call. Again, Nintendo, give us a call. Monolith, give us a call. We're going to make a Legend of Zelda game that will be the most epic one ever because it's going to have the best gameplay in terms of combat and Nintendo's puzzle and storytelling and other aspects that
Much
make
smoother
Zelda so
animations.
great. So give us a call. But anyway, thanks for joining us, guys.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks for joining us on this short cast about Zelda, a little bit about
Shortcast.
E3.
Yeah.
Oh!
Peace
This is
in the
the
Middle East,
SDC
guys.
Podcast. Get us on SDCpodcast.com, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
You can find me at Drew Brees Music. You can find Jose at Jose Melgar
14.
on this You can find Raph at
Epic Vision.
Epic Vision.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Like just about everywhere. Everywhere.
Look us up, guys. SDC Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud. Enjoy.